That all took place at Harare Sports Club, where the Cappy Talk 100.4 team hosted one of the best watch parties ever. It was absolutely amazing. And of course, that was the final match between Zimbabwe and Namibia in the Rugby Africa Cup. And boy, oh boy, what a game. On the line right now, I have business leader, broadcaster, former Sables player, coach, pundit, commentator, rugby educator, and official as well. I have Bongani Zamchiya on the line. Zam, how are you doing?
Full of happiness, full of joy. It's also a little bit bittersweet. But yeah, very happy on the whole, my friend. Very happy.
How are you feeling about the big win at the Rugby Africa Cup? I mean, what went through your mind as the clock just wound down and that siren went, signaling the end of the game?
It's a journey. I don't know. It's so hard to explain. It's a thing that brings grown men to tears, and a lot of people will be like, "Wow, well, it's only just a game." But for a lot of people, myself included, this is decades. And when I watched the final whistle go and the jubilation and elation, I thought about things that people talk about, right? And one of the phrases at a time like this is how success has many parents and failure is an orphan. And there are so many people that contribute immensely, and my mind just ran through a lot of people. I've got a long list. I'm not gonna bore you with a long list today, but one day, we must talk and recognize, and it's a great tribute to the coaches, to Pete, to Ricky, to TJ, TK, Kurt. The problem is when you start listing people, you're going to forget, people like Kodru Mrambio, director of coaching, the Sables Trust, Lindsay Earl, people like Kisa Chirengende. So many people have played the part, His Excellency in terms of supporting the team, the money that's come through from government of Zimbabwe, just the guys who are watching the game. I mean, a guy who proposed to his girlfriend over the weekend. It's just everything, And when you get to see the support that was there watching, unfortunately I couldn't be there. I would have wanted to. It just made me think of all the years. Made me think of, my 25 plus years of involvement in rugby and how we've been trying to do this, how this has been a 34-year journey. And, a lot of people don't really understand how at one stage we almost died as a sport in this country.
Yeah.
And it was done. It was gone. And for us to then be in a position where various individuals have been piecing it together. I mean, we dropped down to Group 1C. We were playing against Botswana on a regular basis, and bussing it around, no corporate support, literally funding a national team out of the pockets of individuals. And one day I need to write some of these stories, because it's great when we see where we are, but in the deepest, darkest days when there was no hope, when, we didn't even have a national rugby league, and people sat around rooms and had to create things, and, you had to get players to make immense sacrifices. So yeah. I pay immense tribute to the guys who've done this, and the guys who've achieved the success. But for me, I look back and understand that this success was built on the shoulders of many, and it's our mutual success. We don't take anything away from the great effort of the 23 people who played on Saturday and the additional team and staff behind them. We acknowledge it's a collaborative effort and take our hats off to everyone who played their part.
Zam, all these years, Namibia, arch rivals and nemesis, they always seem to have our number. But where did we get it right? I mean, you've talked about the build-up to this moment. Where did we get it right this time around?
I think you need to contextualize the Namibian story. In 87 and 91, when we went through 95, we missed out to Cote d'Ivoire. And then since then, it's been Namibia. And what happens is, the more you participate, the more able you are to participate. The consolidation of resources that come through for a World Cup campaign. And Namibia has had immense support when it comes to that. And I'm not saying that it was unwarranted support. They earned it, right? And as a result, what happens is you get better and better. You look at football teams, you talk about how in the English Premier League you have the big six. It's what happens when there's a concentration of resources. And from our perspective, like I said, we failed. We failed not because we didn't have the heart, we didn't have the passion, but primarily, in the large part, we didn't have resources. Right? We got to a stage where we were unable to participate in host fixtures, and we weren't even able to have a national league. I remember one time when we were arranging a trip to go to Madagascar, and I literally had to go around begging people for money to be able to undertake a trip. So when things got spun out and this trust got created, what it then did, it gave a level of autonomy. We've had some stability economically, which has also enabled corporates to come on board, and success begets success. So
True.
at each iterative step where you are getting more and more successful, you get more and more people who want to get interested. And it's been fantastic getting support from the corporate world. You know, I don't want to be someone who looks down upon the level of support. It hasn't been enough. We have to say that and be honest to be where we want to be. But we must be grateful that it's come through. And it's come through because we've put in structures, we've put in support. We've got a fantastic Sables Trust, like I said, led by Lindsay Earl. You've got phenomenal people who work behind the scenes. You know, there's people like Kisset who are the cornerstone of what we've been able to achieve in terms of talking, getting players on board. And it's been built up. You know, you can't forget people like Brendan Dawson, who've been on this journey for many years. You know, past presidents like Aaron Jani, may he rest in peace, Temba Sibanda, John Falkenberg, many others who played an iterative part. You know, Lawson Mtongwiza, currently suspended, but was chairman, was manager of the Sables when I was chairman of the Sables. And, he's been in that game. There's many people, you know, and it's a part. You know, you talk about how players come through. You know, you've got fantastic people like Daniel Wasili, aka JB, and Victor Pekani, the coaches who bring the guys through, Jeff Madaki, fantastic players, fantastic coaches, and a whole lot of administrators, and the southern region as well. It's collaborative, and all the referees who come out on a weekly basis. So what's happened over the years is you've got people who have stuck to the game and the passion that they have had. And then, like I said, you've had the resources that have coalesced around that. And that's what's enabled us to get to where we are. And of course, the phenomenal players, who week in, week out do it for very little. Yes, people can say, oh, we've got players getting paid now. But, you know, you put your body on the line for your country. Mm-hmm. And it's only now where we're actually seeing some reasonable amounts of money. I mean, players in the past have traveled and got $20 here, $30 there. And it's not because we have not wanted to reward better, but it's just the lack of capacity. So to summarize it all, it's the iterative success that is then able to attract the resources, and those resources have been effectively managed and put through. And you have a good situation, which then resulted in things going forward.
As a pundit, what stood out for you in our games building up to the curtain coming down on the Rugby Africa Cup?
You know, I hate to call myself a pundit. I'm just a fan. I'm just a person who has an immense passion for the game, for my country, for the Sables. And let's be honest, it was not the best preparation. We were meant to have a warm-up game against the USA that didn't come. Various training games didn't, because it's hard to attract teams that want to come and play. We played against Zambia, but if you look at it, the majority of the players played against Zambia didn't go on. You know, a couple of players like Edward Sigalke would have been in that team, and Aiden Burnett and, you know, Hilton Mdariki as well. But the majority of players didn't participate in those games. And what happens is you then effectively had our first game in that tournament was our first warm-up game. And it's an immense credit to the players and to the coaching staff that they were able to put it all together. And when I say preparations weren't the best, it's by no means a criticism. It's an acknowledgement and acceptance of the environment in which we find ourselves. And what it means is that we are looking at getting better. And like I said to you, it's iterative. So we don't need to look back at what we failed at. What we need to do is look back and see how we can get better going forward.
Zam, I'm about to let you go, but besides the festivities, I mean, we definitely have to bask in the glory of clinching the Rugby Africa Cup and securing a qualification to contest for the Webb Ellis. But how do we prepare for the big stage?
Yeah, so that's the big question, and that's when the real work begins now. You know, we have the opportunities to celebrate this immense success, back-to-back champions, and what we've got to do now is to sit down. And like I said to you, there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of interest. You know, I've even fielded calls, even though I'm not actively involved, but on the periphery of people wanting to get involved. What we've got to do is you've got to be very careful at a time like this in terms of understanding the needs and the requirements going forward, and doing a balancing act of taking along those who have been with you along that journey, but also introducing new ones. And when I mean that, it's from a sponsor perspective, it's from a player perspective, it's from a coaching perspective, because what we want to do and absolutely need to do is we need to go to the World Cup, and while it might seem like a very low bar, we need to win one game. And for context, Namibia has played 20 games in the World Cup and lost all of them. We cannot go to the World Cup and lose all of our games. We want to have a Portugal story. We want to eventually have a Japan story, one of upsets, one of the minnows going through. And what that's going to take is going to take some long horizon planning. And in addition to that, it's actually setting a platform for us to do better. So as we look in 2025, 2 years ahead, we've also got to be looking and saying, what's our plan for the next 6 years, so that we're talking about going to the World Cup in 2031 and not just wondering whether that can actually be a reality. So a lot of work has got to be done, and I've got complete faith and confidence in the individuals and the personnel there and their understanding of the needs and the requirements. And I hope that all the people who are listening here, whether from a corporate perspective, individual perspective, they'll continue to rally behind the team, help mobilize resources, mobilize the support and everything that's needed for us to really kick on as a rugby nation.
Thank you so much. Bongani Zamchiya here on TXO. Just give us his perspective and, of course, chat with him about what this all means, where we are now as a rugby playing country, and, of course, with the Sables as well. And, man, immense congratulations to you and everyone who loves rugby, Zam. And I wish you all the best and celebrations. And see you in Australia. See you down under.
I'm already planning 6 weeks, Mox. I want to watch every single game, and let's all save up now and go and support the green and white in whichever way we can, because it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Fantastic. Bongani Zamchiya, thank you so much for joining us and taking time out. Really appreciate you. I know you have a busy schedule, but I'm going to let you go now. But thank you for coming through and chatting with us.
It's been my absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Fantastic. That was Bongani Zamchiya, and of course you remember him from the Breakfast Club, and he is actually a former player, coach, pundit. He doesn't want to be known as that, but he's a commentator, rugby educator, official, as well as a broadcast and business leader, just coming through to chat with us